Well, many thanks for staying with us and in case you're joining us, you're just in time for the big conversation here with India's High Commissioner to Kenya, that is Dr. Adarsh Swaika, who is here to talk to us about matters India-Kenya relations. A very good evening to you, Dr. Adarsh.
Thank you, Mr. Ian, for having me on your show.
Pretty much. I was, of course, tempted to say Jambo.
Asante.
Of course, it has been, it's, I think, 3 months shy of it being a year since you came to Nairobi. And I don't know, how has your stay been so far in Nairobi?
I think I could say that it's a home away from home. People say that, but actually I mean it because Kenya and India are very similar. And it's not that our relationship is forged in the last few decades. It spans centuries. And so many of Indians were coming to the Eastern African coast, have been here. You know the history of our relationship, how the Indians came, particularly one big batch during the railway construction from Kenya to Uganda. Centers, commercial centers came through that. And I think that relationship at people-to-people level. So if you have such a huge diaspora which has contributed to the socio-economic development of the country, obviously being an ambassador of that country, one is tend to settle down very fast. And I think I can tell you that last 8 months, which I have spent here, has been fabulous. Very warm hospitality of our Kenyan friends. And obviously, I can't complain on the natural beauty and bounty of the country.
Well, pretty much, I'd say karibu to Kenya. Hakuna matata, they say.
Yes.
And of course, it is worth noting that Dr. Adarsh Swaika is also the permanent representative to UNEP and the UN Habitat here in Nairobi. I was trying to, understand a few Indian words here and there. I don't know whether I'm right. If I'll butcher it, you'll correct me.
Yeah, sure.
But I just wanted to say, shukriya for, joining us on KTN. I believe that is, thank you.
Yeah, shukriya, yes, thank you. Yes.
Pretty
yes,
much, I'm not badly off. Yeah. Thank you very much. Now, if you look at, to begin us off this conversation, if you look at, like you've said, we have a long-standing relationship between the two countries, that is India and Kenya, spanning years and years. If you look at the state of the relations that we have today, how do you, gauge that?
I would say that our contemporary relations are excellent. We have the luxury of a very, very solid historical relations. Today, if you take any aspect of our bilateral relations, whether it is political, economic, culture, development partnership, health, education, I think we will score quite high on that. And if you want me to elaborate, if you talk about our people-to-people and government-to-government relationship as we speak, today Prime Minister Modi and President Ruto met on the sidelines of G7. And President Ruto is representing Africa, India is there from Asia. And I think what was very significant to note was very common use of language by both leaders. You say they said the trust is very important in this current global geopolitics. And they said that for Global South, it is important to have partnership rather than a donor-recipient relationship. And both leaders echoed this kind of relationship. So I would say that there is a meeting of minds when it comes to the government, to the people, and this relationship is very, very broad-based. And now it is acquiring very new domains, particularly on the technology front, on the health side. So I see that the relationship is growing. There is political will on both sides. The relationship is buttressed by people-to-people goodwill. And therefore, I look forward to my tenure in Kenya as an exciting one.
Pretty much. Even, when you look at it, what are the key areas that are driving this partnership? Because like you've said, even as President William Ruto met with Prime Minister Narendra Modi today, he was here in the country in July 2016, and they signed around 7 MOUs in regards to matters of defense, trade, and even development assistance. So if you look back, what are the key drivers to this partnership that we have today?
A lot of areas to take pride in. particularly the intensification of leadership level engagements, the follow-up of what the leaders decided. So today our development partnership, particularly on the capacity building side, is very, very strong. Every year, over 400 Kenyan nationals are going to India for different courses in centers of excellence in India, fully at the Government of India cost. I think that has been a huge bridge builder between our two countries. If you see trade and investments, today we are the third largest trade partner of Kenya, almost $4 billion. There are a lot of products, finished products, which are coming, those which are not substituting your market. At the same time, we feel that as Kenya grows, as we see a lot of development in Kenya, as we see there is a goodwill, or there is a very strong intention to go towards manufacturing. India is a large market, very near a large market for Kenya. Look at investments. Today, there are many, many Indian companies which are present in Kenyan market. And for decades, whether it is banking, whether it is telecom, whether it is insurance, real estate. So I think I see that there is a lot of potential between the two sides. Today, technology is also a very important area for us. We are working together in this area as well. A lot of Indian IT companies are present in Kenya. We have recently signed an agreement on DigiLocker, where we will be tailoring a project based on the Kenyan requirements. So I think there is a lot going on different fronts.
Pretty much. You've talked about companies here in the country and, it being also opportunities for Kenyans and even for, Indians here in the country. But looking at India's economy, it has been growing steadily. I don't know from where you sit, what are some of the opportunities that Kenyan investors do have in India that they can dive into?
See, today, if you see, the entire world is looking at India because of its large market, because of its investor-friendly policies, and we have signed a record number of free trade agreements with a large number of countries in the recent past, because countries see an opportunity both on trade front, both on investment front. And as I said, as Kenya grows, as Kenya develops more and more of manufacturing capability, it will find a very good market in India, which is not very far. We are connected through the Indian Ocean. We are on different sides of Indian Ocean, but that has been our conduit of people-to-people interactions and business linkages from centuries long. So I think it complements both countries. Today there will be a trade imbalance in favor of India, but I see that tomorrow I think there is a huge opportunity for Kenyan investors and Kenyan businesses to tap the Indian market.
Pretty much. I mean, Kenya has aspirations, and President William Ruto talks about taking Kenya to the next level, even economically speaking, and making Kenya an economic powerhouse. From India as a nation, of course, you've made strides. You are one of the most biggest economies in the globe, rather. What lessons should we take from your growth as a nation that we need to inculcate here in the country to make sure that we get to the levels that India has gotten so far?
I feel that a large part of India's success, I don't say that we have achieved where we want to go. We have a goal of a developed country by 2047. But if you see the trajectory of India in the last few years, particularly last 10 years, we have been growing at a rate of 7%. Even last year, we have clocked, despite so much of geopolitical conflicts and tensions, at 7.7%. So, and this has largely been due to 3-4 factors, I would say. One is a large growing middle class. Today, we have a 400 million middle class in India, and large part of our growth is domestic driven. The demand which is being created by this middle class. So I would say that in Kenya, it is important that there is a middle class. Second is the infrastructure development. If you have been to India maybe 10 years back, 20 years back, and if you go today, the level of infrastructure development is massive. So we had 10 years before 74 airports. Today we have 160 airports. We build almost 12 kilometers of road every day. We build 28 kilometers of railway every month. We nearly, not nearly, over 50% of the global real-time digital payments happen in India. So I think there is a lot of things, and this has been done because we have tried to do things at population scale. A large success could be attributed that we have leapfrogged some of the things because of digital public infrastructure, because that has enhanced our reach to the large population, and to a large extent by financial inclusion. So I think there are some of the things in Kenya. For example, Kenya has been a pioneer in mobile money, and the rest of the world has learned from it. So I think some of the things Kenya is already doing. For example, a massive push on infrastructure development is happening in Kenya. So I think it has to be a development that is, while we have to look at bringing people out of poverty, but at the same time, it is important that we have development, we have jobs, we have infrastructure that complements this.
You've talked about digital infrastructure, and of course India is sharing its digital infrastructure solutions with partner countries. One would wonder or ask rather, how is India helping Kenya in terms of even digital governance?
We have had some conversations on this subject, particularly in the last 1 year. And Kenya, the ICT minister, led a huge delegation, in fact, one of the largest delegation to the AI summit in New Delhi in February, during which we signed a DigiLocker agreement, as I was mentioning earlier. So we are cooperating on DigiLocker. Last October, Secretary to Cabinet, Mrs. Mercy Wanjo, she led a benchmarking visit to India where they looked very much at our Aadhaar identity system, our DigiLocker, some of the things like the Sahel app. So I think there are 4 or 5 things which the Kenyans have gone and looked at India, and we feel something on the infrastructure mapping through satellite. So I think all these are conversations which are happening as we speak. And one thing is very clear, that if we are partnering, we will do things as per the requirements and as per the needs of the Kenyans. It's not a top-down model, but it's sharing our experiences, something which we will learn from your story, and some things which we'll share from our successes.
Oh, pretty much. If you look at, you talked about exports, and you talked about, of course, India being Kenya's 3rd largest trading partner with a bilateral trade of about 4.3 billion. If you look at your main exports to Kenya, of course, there are other things, but pharmaceuticals. If you look at the statistics, because I was going through the statistics in regards to matters of health and all, in 2025, at least 10,000 Kenyans went to India for medical services. India is far much ahead when it comes to matters of health. How can we, or what can we learn from the health system that we need to employ or deploy here in the country to make sure that we also strengthen our not only health infrastructure, but also make sure that there is better access to healthcare?
I think the intervention has to be at multiple levels. Particularly, we have also gone through similar phase, and today we are called the global pharmacy of the world on different accounts. One is medical treatment, for which you rightly said 10,000 Kenyans went to India for different kinds of medical treatment. The pharmaceutical supplies which we send to the world, including the vaccines, and then the hospital care and all that. And I feel that a lot of it has to be homegrown. The capacities have to be built over time. It cannot happen overnight. And I think even in this case, there are a lot of conversations happening between Indian hospital chains and Kenyan hospitals. And I see that there is a good potential for that cooperation as well.
Pretty much. It still matters health. India has provided support to Ebola-hit countries, for example, like Uganda. I mean, what is the motivation behind that?
No, we have always been a partner for the Global South, and we feel that it's a shared responsibility. So as soon as this outbreak had happened, we had quickly come in with a C-17 full of medicines, testing kits, PPEs and all. So we have taken a whole of region approach. We gave it to Africa CDC. We were in consultation with them. 45 tons of medical supplies have already been delivered in 2 tranches. And that has been our mantra. If I take you back to the COVID times, we had a 1.4 billion population to be vaccinated. And still India supplied vaccines to 150 countries, vaccines and medical supplies, and over 40 million vaccine doses to 40 African countries, and including 1.1 million doses to Kenya. So I think we feel that it's a shared responsibility where we should, if we are called the global pharmacy of the world, we should be there.
Pretty much. I mean, how does that reflect on India's, approach to matters relating to global health corporations?
No, again, I think, as I said, I think we have very active cooperation with countries around the world on the health side, not only in Africa, but across the world. We supply pharmaceuticals to practically the entire Europe, US, South Asia, and Africa. That is one. A lot of cutting-edge medical treatment today is now available in India. Another sector which we haven't talked about, but which is assuming very, very large proportions, is the development in the Indian medical devices sector. So we are manufacturing a lot of medical devices which are being used all over the world. So I think we have made significant gains on the health side, on the pharma side, and we are happy to share with our friends from the global south.
Let me just go back a little bit again on this issue of MOUs signed. I was looking at also the statistics, and we signed I think around 26 MOUs between Kenya and India, because various presidents have been here, prime ministers, but also 3 of our presidents have been to India, and of all this MOUs that we've signed, I think the recent one was in April, this year, if I'm not wrong. How can you assess the implementation of these MOUs, and how can we further strengthen the cooperation and even oversee the signing of more MOUs that are going to help not only crucial sectors like health, but also even manufacturing industries, because you've talked about medical devices that India max.
No, there are a large number of MOUs which we have signed, but there are a large number of MOUs which are equally in the pipeline, which we are discussing, because we need to take the conversation ahead, forward. And if we sign one MOU, there are MOUs linked to those MOUs. For example, if you're talking about health side, we are currently discussing the recognition of Indian pharmacopoeia by the health ministry. So that will help in further integrating our medical systems. Similarly, we talk of renewable energy. So India is spearheading the International Solar Alliance, and Kenya has now has agreed to join the International Solar Alliance, and we will soon be seeing that Kenya is one of the partner countries in the International Solar Alliance, which over 100 countries have already joined. So I think MOUs, agreements, treaties, these are part and parcel of government-to-government interactions. They provide a framework. They are not an end in itself. You rightly said whether we are rightly implementing them. Much of them we are implementing, but there are also cases where we haven't been able to realize the full potential of the MOUs, and that's our effort. That's our effort to see that every MOU which is signed, every agreement which is signed, we are able to reap the benefits of what the MOU says.
Pretty much. When you talk about these medical devices, one would also want to ask, what opportunities are there in terms of cooperation with Kenya in regards to even medical technology?
No, we provided a Bhavatron cancer therapy machine to Kenya 3-4 years back. Recently, we have installed the CT scan machine in Kenya Navy Hospital. 2 months back, I signed a MOU with Defense Principal Secretary for commissioning an MRI machine in the Kenya Navy Hospital. So I think there are a lot of things which we are doing together, on this front, and which will further strengthen not only government-to-government relations, but from the humanity point of view. It's a humanitarian touch to what we do together.
Pretty much. When you talk about culture, Dr. Adarsh, one of India's main cultures is the issue of, yoga. And of course, World Yoga Day will be celebrated on June 21st, if I'm not wrong. And this year's theme is yoga for healthy aging. One would also want to, ask, why is this theme particularly relevant today?
No, it is not only relevant today, but has been relevant at all times. Because today we are more restricted to what we are doing now. We are sitting on the chairs, half of our time is sitting in offices. Then there is the issue of complications as we age because of the way we live today. So I think it's a very important theme. We are also, that's why we are doing something called chair yoga in the United Nations office complex 2 days on 18th. So that at least sitting on your chair, when you're on your workplace, you can do certain exercises which keeps you physically. If you may not have time, you may not like doing too much of exercises, going out and walking and running, but sitting on your chair, you can do sufficient exercises which can help in your general well-being. So that is the theme of yoga for healthy, for aging. But I would say that we expect a lot of people to turn up for the 21st June event at the Visa Oswald grounds. We have had a very good registration numbers. We are expecting around 2,500 people in the morning on 21st June. Through this channel and through you, I want to invite all the viewers to come join us. The registrations are still open. And we look forward to celebrating this International Day of Yoga together with our friends in Kenya.
Talking about yoga being, one of the ways of ensuring you stay healthy. Earlier on in this broadcast, I was talking about, and I was, urging men out there to also, come out and ensure they, live in a healthy way, because we live in an era where there are issues regarding, mental health. And this month is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, which is, commemorated globally. As a man, you're a distinguished man. Many people are looking up to even, I know many people are looking up to you in India. What would you tell men out there in regards to, also looking, out for themselves and ensuring that they stay healthy, and, if they can engage in, activities like yoga to help them, relieve probably the stress if they're stressed or if they're depressed? What would you tell men today?
Yoga. I think yoga is one form of exercise that's not only prepares you for physical well-being, but also for mental well-being. And if you, I don't know whether you had a chance to do a little bit of yoga, otherwise you come on 21st June. But a lot of the yoga exercise starts with breathing techniques, meditation. Don't confuse it with spirituality. It's nothing to do with spirituality as such. You do breathing exercises and which brings in a lot of mental well-being. So I think yoga is very, very important from that point of view, and I would advise today all the men who are watching that please look at yoga for the mental well-being. Not only men, but even women, everybody, child.
Cross-border.
If you see on a yoga day, you will find small kids also joining for the yoga, very old age people joining for the yoga. It's across aisle. And even people who have some medical complications can do some yoga. They can leave some part of the yoga. So it's all size fits rule. Everybody can do something or the other as far as yoga is concerned.
Pretty much. Apart from yoga, there are other Indian cultures, from music to cuisine to literature and education and all. And we enjoy the Indian culture, what I've talked about, enjoys a lot of considerable popularity here in the country. How important is this cultural diplomacy in enhancing relations between the two countries?
I feel that it is very important because it brings people together, and a lot of diplomacy is how you interact with people. Otherwise, there will be no need for embassies and institutions. You can send an email and expect an answer. But I think that cultural part, that's the soft touch which it gives to relations. And you rightly said there's a lot of cultural affinity for Indian culture in Kenya, whether you see Bollywood films, music, food, language. A lot of Kiswahili words are influenced from Indian languages. So I think there is a lot of traction I see in Kenya. And I think that is one area where we want to work more. We haven't done much, but I think in the next few months, you will see more of Indian High Commission's events focused on culture.
Pretty much. Of course, India is, cooperating with various African countries, or rather the African continent, on various fronts, like we've talked about, matters health, matters education, and all. I mean, in the coming years, what role do you see Kenya playing in enhancing, Indian influence and cooperation with other African countries in the coming years?
See, Kenya has been one of our foremost partners, not only now, but from decades and centuries. So we see Kenya's role as a regional hub, particularly for East Africa, Central Africa. Obviously, Kenya is the environmental capital of the world. It's a voice of the global South. Kenya has been championing so many initiatives for the African Union. So we see Kenya as a very, very important stakeholder. Maritime security, the leadership in environmental governance, I think, and more importantly, connectivity, from the connectivity point of view. If economic cooperation, if we talk of economic cooperation, Kenya is a very, very reliable gateway to East and Central Africa. So I think overall, we attach a lot of importance to Kenya and our relations with Kenya.
As India's High Commissioner to Kenya today, I mean, what is your vision in regards to the Kenya-India relations for the next decade?
My vision, if you ask me, is very clear. Whatever we do, which can benefit our people. So anything both countries, both the governments do, should benefit our people. And therefore, I think, and that's the motto with which we are working. Whether it is economic cooperation, whether trade and investments, it must result in benefits to the people of the country in terms of employment, in terms of investment, in terms of bringing good technology, in terms of agriculture advancement. So that is one thing which very much in our mind, I'm sure that will be the same for the Kenyan side.
Pretty much. Let me take you back a little bit. You've talked about Indian culture. You've talked about the cuisine and all. In your 9 months or 8 months that you've been here, is there probably a Kenyan dish that you probably love to partake?
See, I am a vegetarian, so I am limited by the choice of Kenyan food. But if anybody is in Kenya, whether a vegetarian or non-vegetarian, they can't miss ugali and kuchumbri. So that's one dish I like, which is similar to what we also eat in southern part of India. Little different, but I think quite similar.
When you talk about also the yoga event on the 21st, there are probably Kenyans out there would want to come out and exercise that particular day. How can they get in touch and be there?
It's all on our social media accounts. It is pinned in our social media account. It's on our website. The moment you enter our website, the first thing will come is register. There is a QR code. You have to just scan it, put in 3-4 details, very, very basic form. And those who are coming will be given a free T-shirt, a yoga mat. There will be some healthy drinks and all. So I think I can assure that those who are going to join us on that day, you will not go disappointed. You may tend to become a yoga enthusiast or a yogi.
Pretty much. I'm almost convinced that I need to be there on the 21st.
Should.
But even as we come to the tail end of this conversation with you, Dr. Adarsh, the millions of Kenyans watching out there, as India's High Commissioner to Kenya, what would you tell them, more so in regards to India's influence in trying to help Kenya achieve its dreams, not only from an economic perspective, but also growth as a nation in general?
No, I think, to my mind, the very important fact is the friendship between our two countries, which has been at the people-to-people level. That is the defining feature of our relationship. So all those who are watching, I would request them that the bonds of friendship between India and Kenya continue to remain strong. I think one important factor in making that happen in the current time is educational linkages. Even today, I see a lot of Kenyans going to India for educational purpose. I have met people who in 80s, 90s have gone to different parts of India to study, and I see the same trend. So I think it's very, very important that there has to be, whether it is business or culture or education or medical, that people-to-people linkages have to be the defining feature of our relationship.
Pretty much. You've talked about, education, and of course, education is one of the things that was, emphasized upon when the MOU was signed between India and Kenya during President William Ruto's visit to India, when he was hosted by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in 2023. But pretty much we've come to the end of this particular conversation, and of course, again, Shukia for joining us and making time to be here on KTN Prime. Maybe if you have any final words to even the Indian community here in Kenya?
No, I think for the Indian community, I can say that we are very proud of the contributions you have made to Kenya, where you live, and which is practically your home. And wherever I go, most of the Kenyan interlocutors are very, very appreciative of the role being played by the Indian-Kenyan community. So very proud of them.
Pretty much. Thank you very much for, of course, gracing this particular show. We hope to have you on board some other time just to, of course, deliberate and talk matters India-Kenya relations, even as Kenya seeks to attain the levels that India has attained, whether it is in regards to matters economy, but also more specifically in matters of health, because health is a very integral part of a country's success. One would say, something like education, health are the backbone of, a country's success. Pretty much. Asante sana. And I hope you enjoy your stay here in Kenya.
Thank you, and I look forward to being again on your show. And I must say that we are partners in progress, and therefore, if we share something with Kenya, we also learn something from Kenya.
Pretty much. Well, that is the end of that particular